Hello, how are you getting on? Today we're going to be doing a pasta shape tier list. Quite possibly my most requested video of all time. Before we start, just let me give you my credentials. I am in fact 1/16 Italian. So I'm 1/16 Italian, 15/16 Irish. Comes together in a beautiful exotic mix and creates quite the specimen, if I do say so myself. And I am more than willing to say so myself. On top of that, I am of course obese, which generally speaking involves quite a lot of pasta. So there are both cultural and environmental reasons for my expertise on this topic. So we're going to get straight into it now. If you've never seen a tier list before, we go from S, which is the best, to F, which is the worst, and we've got all our pastas down here to rank. So I'm going to start with the absolute worst pasta of all time, and that is of course easily farfalle, an absolute disgrace to pasta shapes. Farfalle pasta is all aesthetics with absolutely zero thought given to the engineering of the pasta. I'll admit it's very cool looking, it's like a dicky bow, a cute little tie that you put on. I'm all in for that. But the logistics of actually cooking and consuming this pasta are nothing short of hellish. It's too thick in the middle where it's all bunched up, and then it's too thin towards the sides. This creates an unevenness in the cooking process that even Gordon Ramsay wouldn't be able to get a satisfactory result out of. The centre of the pasta, you could cook it for 6 hours. It's not going to change texture, it's still going to be essentially completely raw. Whereas the outer part of the pasta will be completely disintegrated within nanoseconds of entering the pot. But it doesn't just stop there. As soon as you get it onto the plate, the pasta is far too aerodynamic to be eaten safely. If you try to stick your fork into the solid core of a farfalle pasta, its aerodynamics will cause it to slide all around the plate, and you will surely starve to death. I could literally go on about how much I hate farfalle for the whole video, but we have to move on because I'm getting stressed. Next up, we have ravioli. I think this is going to be a shocker for a lot of people. I think ravioli is fucking awful. Now, it's not quite as bad as farfalle is. I'm going to put it in D tier, but it's down there. I primarily have a texture issue with ravioli. It feels like glue in my mouth. I don't like how the inside of it is all soft. I know what people are going to say, oh, you haven't had proper ravioli, you need to go to a chef, and I don't want to hear it. A good pasta should have a low barrier to entry. It should be simple to prepare for the common man. Every time I've had ravioli, it's just been salty and chewy and slippy. I think it's completely overrated, and I think the main reason for that is people are just excited that it has a little surprise inside. Well, I'll tell you what, ravioli, you won't feckin' fool me. Next up we have elbows. These are okay. They're the kind of ones, they look like something a plumber might use. I don't find myself thinking about them a lot. You don't see them out in the wilderness much either. I feel like they're an underused pasta. I'm not really sure where their role is in the pasta world. They haven't carved out a niche for themselves. But I still kind of feel like they could easily impress me in the future. And there's nothing really wrong with them. So I'm going to put them in C tier. Next we have pipe rigatoni. I don't think I've ever had this. I don't remember ever eating this. So obviously it means nothing to anybody. It obviously is not as bad as ravioli, so I'm going to put it in elbow category. And actually, I'm going to bump elbow up to B because there's nothing really wrong with them. Next up, we have egg noodles. Is this not more of a Chinese food kind of a thing? I'm not trying to be racist, but it's not really pasta, is it? I've no choice but to put that in with ravioli because it shouldn't even really be here. I do love them though. Next up, we have penne. Penne is your quintessential do-it-all pasta. Easy A tier. I'm never disappointed if I see a bit of penne in something I'm eating. It goes with everything. You can have it with a bolognese. You can have it in a salad. You can do whatever you want with penne. Penne is a jack of all trades, but it just doesn't have that wow factor that would elevate it to S tier. Next up we have ditalini. Rock solid pasta, but I have to say, I feel like I just don't have many dealings with it. We just don't do much business together. Anytime I have done a bit of business with ditalini, it's been very enjoyable, but it just doesn't seem to come up a lot. I can't remember the last time I had a conversation with somebody about ditalini, whereas I'm talking about, I probably had 4 conversations about penne yesterday. So it's a rock solid pasta, but it lacks the X factor, so I'm going to put it in B tier. Next up we have pappardelle. I have absolutely no fucking idea what that is, but it can't be any worse than ravioli, so I'm going to throw it in C tier. Next up we have shells, extremely aesthetically pleasing pasta. It's really good at capturing the sauce, but I have to say its biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. Whilst it is good at catching the sauce, I think it might be too good at catching the sauce. And sometimes if the sauce is very strong, when you're eating the shells, it just feels like you have a big bag of sauce in your mouth, which isn't always what you're going for. That being said, I'm never upset to see it, and I think I'm going to place it firmly at the top of B tier. Some people will probably find that to be harsh, but you can't joke around with this stuff. Next up we have orchachette. I don't know how to say it, I'm dyslexic, so you can't make fun of me, that's ableist. It's the small little kind of shell things. Very enjoyable pasta. You see it a lot in salads. I'd like to see more of it, if anything. I feel like I don't see it enough. And for me, it's right up there with penne. It's an easy A tier pasta shape. Next up we have cavatappi. The little squiggly fellas, they look like springs. I have to be honest and say that I simply don't enjoy this pasta. I find it a bit busy in the mouth. There's too much going on the tongue. I find it a bit confusing, frankly. But it's definitely not as bad as ravioli, so I'm going to put it in C tier. Next we have maliotti. I haven't a clue how to say that either. Is this like the kind of bigger version of penne? Anything that's a tube, I enjoy. So I'm going to throw that in A tier. I have no clue what this is. Cesarese. This is getting very exotic. I think this is like one of them pastas for people who have a load of money. I'm just going to say that it's probably B tier because it looks nice, but I don't think I've ever had it. Linguine. I mean, what do I even need to say about linguine? Top-notch work from the Italians. That's an easy A tier. How could you not enjoy linguine? Next up we have zitti. Haven't a clue about you. I'm going to throw you in B tier because you look alright. Campanelle. I have actually had this once. It's a bit weird looking, to be honest. Tastes fine. The texture in the mouth is absolutely fine as well. But to be honest with you, I'm just going to have to be shallow and say that I just don't find it very attractive. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Now we're getting into some of the heavy hitters. Lasagna. Lasagna is so good. I love lasagna. I have put on so much weight because of how much I love lasagna. I would eat a lasagna every single day of my life. Easy S tier. The creaminess, the layers, the aesthetic. Lasagna is the ultimate showman of the pasta shape world, and it's the closest thing we're going to see here to a cake, which obviously I enjoy. Tagliatelle, another easy S tier. These are the Greek gods of pasta shapes. Probably shouldn't say Greek gods, actually. Historically, I don't think they got on that well with the Italians. Bucatini. It looks nice. It looks like a very long tube, and as I've said before, I do enjoy the tube pastas. I'm just going to assume it's A tier because it's a tube, but I don't think I've had that. Gennelli, I think is how you say this one. It's kind of like the spring pasta, but it's kind of looser. It still has all the same issues as the spring pasta. I just find it too busy in the mouth. It's not quite as bad, so I'm going to put it in C tier as well, but I'm going to put it just above the spring one because I really don't like that one. Actually, I've thought about it a bit more, and the spring pasta I think actually is as bad as ravioli. I was remembering. I was thinking there about if I was eating it, and it was very unpleasant. So it's going in D tier. So this next one is rotoni, but it looks to me like fusilli, which is the twisty guy. So I'm going to pretend this is fusilli. And despite what I said earlier about the spring pasta being too busy in the mouth, fusilli is actually my absolute favourite pasta. I don't know what it is. I know it seems similar to the one I hate, but that little tweak, twisty pasta, is the ultimate pasta. It has the best surface to catch just enough of the sauce, but you don't feel like there's a bag of sauce in your mouth. You'll get little tiny bits of meat in there as well. It's the hunter-gatherer of pastas. It's very satisfying to watch your fork go in between the grooves. The whole experience of eating a twisty pasta is, I believe, extremely Italian, and in my opinion is just unmatched by any other pasta, except maybe lasagna, which is lovely as well. I don't know this one, but it looks very similar to tagliatelle, so I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. I'm going to throw it down here. The little wheel ones, I just feel ridiculous whenever I eat them. They're over-engineered. There's no need for them to look like that. So yeah, it's not a bad pasta overall, but I just think it's trying too hard. So I'm going to put the wheels in C tier. Jumbo shells, a larger version of shells. They're pretty much the same as shells, except worse, because the sauce bag issue becomes significantly more egregious. I don't need an explosion of sauce in my mouth. I like to control my own fun. I'm going to put it in C tier. I wouldn't say no if it was put in front of me, but it's definitely not my preference. Tagliatelle, very little needs to be said about tagliatelle. It's clearly an S tier pasta. It's got everything that's good about spaghetti, but with the added benefit of being a bit thicker. And let's be honest, girls, we all like them a bit thicker, don't we? Angel hair, a bit of fun. I always have fun whenever I eat angel hair pasta. It's not my favourite, but I do enjoy it. And I like that it's doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to put it in A tier. Next up we have gnocchi. I don't know how you say it, but it's something like that. This may come off a bit racist to myself, but it's made of potatoes, and as an Irish person, I absolutely love potatoes and fear the day there's ever a shortage of them. So gnocchi is a clear S tier for me. And finally, spaghetti. Spaghetti is a nostalgic pasta. We all started there. Our earliest memories of pasta are often with spaghetti. It's what introduced us to the world of bolognese. But we have to admit that as you go through life, nostalgia is just a feeling, and you can never truly experience that moment again. You just have to keep it in your heart forever and admit that it's not quite as good as fusilli or lasagna, even though it is quite good. And for that reason, spaghetti is going in A tier. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I tried to keep it as concise as I could. If you did enjoy this video, you can give it a like if you want, or don't if you don't want to, but I mean, it's not much effort, so there's no reason to be like that really, is there? You can subscribe to me as well if you want to see more of my videos. I can promise you they will be of this quality or lower. You're all absolute legends. Stay delicious.